Welcome back to Weird Stuff in a Can. Today we've got Fray Bentos mac and cheese. So every time I do one of these pies in a can, I keep thinking it's going to be the last. However, I was in B&M stores the other day and I spotted this and it caught my eye and I thought that is kind of unusual really. Macaroni cheese in a pie in a can. And this is a pie in a can. Some people don't like calling it a pie because it only has a top crust. But inside this can there is pastry and then a filling. If you can call it pastry. We'll talk about that a bit later. Anyway, looking around the can. Ingredients. Water, macaroni pasta, 14%, which is water, durum wheat semolina, emulsifier, mono and diglycerides of fatty acids. Then wheat flour, which is wheat flour, wheat gluten, calcium carbonate, folic acid, iron, niacin, thiamine. Palm oil, cheddar cheese, 5%, rapeseed oil, maize starch, skim milk powder, salt, cheese powder, potato starch, onion powder, white pepper, garlic powder, black pepper, natural flavouring, emulsifier, mono and diglycerides of fatty acids. So 5% actual cheese in the whole pie. That equates to maybe as much as 10% in the filling. That's not a lot of cheese. And now I should at this point state that my previous experiences with canned macaroni cheese have not been great. I tend to find that they're just not very cheesy. Also, the canned macaroni cheese that I had before was a citrate moderated sauce. And I always find that always comes across a bit slimy to me. This one doesn't appear to use citrate in the sauce, so that might be a good thing or it might not. Instructions: remove lid using a robust can opener. We highly recommend both the Brabantia Essential line and Oxo Good Grips. I don't even have my Oxo Good Grips anymore. I got rid of it because last time I opened one of these pies with it, it left a shard of metal in the pie, because that's a thing those Oxo Good Grips can openers can do. So yeah, I'm going to stick with Brabantia because, this is my favourite can opener. You can see how well used and well worn this can opener is, and it has never let me down. Anyway, 64 pastry layers, hand placed by experts, devoured by you with lids like this. No wonder they're the #1 pie in a tin. It's not hard to be the #1 pie in a tin when you're the only pie in a tin. Oh, we didn't finish the how to use. Did it always say how to use, or did it previously say how to cook? Pop in the centre of a preheated oven, 220°, fan 200, gas mark 7. Bake for 25 minutes or until crust has risen and is golden brown. All appliances vary. These are guidelines only. Ensure product is piping hot before serving. Now, in the past, when I've baked these, I've gone exactly by the instructions, 25 minutes in the oven, and sometimes they are a bit underbaked. So this time I will cook it for as long as it takes for the top to be risen and crispy. That might be 25 minutes, it might be longer. There will always be soggy layers of pastry. It will not come out looking like the serving suggestion here. In fact, this is photoshopped, this serving suggestion, because it's the same chunk of pastry that they have on all the different varieties of pie. The filling is different here. The pastry is exactly the same piece of pastry with all of these lines and crinkles and things in it. Anyway, we will not be expecting this pastry to be crisp and puffy throughout. It doesn't do that. It ends up soggy, a bit like pasta, and some people love it for that. Anyway, let's get this open. And here we go. So there is the top crust. Well, it smells quite cheesy. That's a hopeful sign. And you can see, obviously, yeah, because this is a can, and this is pastry inside the can, this pastry has been through a pressure cooking process already. It's never going to be like pastry would be if it was just made from pastry dough and put on there and baked from raw. This is already cooked. Anyway, let's get this down to the kitchen, cook it, and then we'll give it a taste. One slight deviation from the instructions. We've got to be careful with deviations from the instructions, by the way. One time I followed people's suggestions. People said, you're supposed to take the pastry off and bake it separately. One time I tried to do that. It was a complete disaster, and everyone called me an idiot for doing it wrong. It wasn't even my idea. Here's another thing which people often suggest, and it's not written on the can, but we'll try it, which is just to run a knife around the edge here, just to free up that pastry from the edge of the can. I don't know whether that's a good idea or a bad idea. It's given me a little bit to taste cold. Yum yum. That does taste a little bit cheesy. The faint glimmer of hope is appearing. Alright, fan oven is preheated to 200 Celsius. The tin on which I will bake this has also been in the oven preheating. That tin's just there to catch any spills. And then we go for 25 minutes. Alright, so that's in fact 7 minutes beyond the 25-minute recommendation. I could take it further than that. It still does look like it could do with a bit more browning, but if I bake it too long, the filling in there could dry out and burn. So I think we'll stop there. That was 32 minutes. So at the moment, lovely and crisp, and it looks fully puffy and golden. I do think that whoever it was that recommended freeing up the pastry from the tin, I think that's a good tip. Something maybe they ought to specify in the instructions, because that has risen more evenly than I've seen before. That will be perilous to try to eat right now, so I'm going to let that stand for 5 or 10 minutes and then we're going to try it. Okay, well I can't quite believe my eyes here, but yeah, that pastry has stayed up. So the top crust is nice and crispy. Let us not pin our hopes too high that it would be like that throughout, but there we go. So looking inside, yeah, see what's happened here is the filling has already started to caramelize and burn on the bottom of the pan. So if I baked it any longer than that, we'd be eating a dried out and burnt pie. So as it is, there is the top crispy crusty layer, which is nice and crispy, and there are the doughy pasta-like underlayers of pastry. Some people actually love these pies because of that. If you think about it, it's just like a steamed dumpling or something like that. Anyway, so the macaroni cheese in here is looking a bit sad. It's a bit brown. Let's give that a taste on its own. So that is sauce on there. That's not the pastry. That's just the macaroni in the sauce. Well, it smells cheesy. Okay, obviously the pasta is overcooked. That's always the case with canned pasta. The sauce is not bad. The sauce actually has a decent cheese flavour. I wouldn't say it's strong, but it's present. The pasta is almost indistinguishable from the sauce. It's just, you know, pasta should not do that. Not so easily as that anyway. For the pastry, these soft underlayers of pastry, we know what to expect here. The texture of this is actually going to be quite similar to the texture of the pasta. A little bit more doughy. Okay, so here's the fun thing. These pastry underlayers are more like properly cooked pasta than the macaroni is. The crusty bit of pastry, I think we did all right this time actually. So we've got 1, 2, 3 layers maybe have gone crispy. So okay, I mean, of the multitude of... No, Evie, you can have some in a minute. So of the now significant multitude of Fray Bentos pies that I've tasted in this series, and indeed outside of this series, I actually think this could be the best one. I really didn't expect that it would, because I do like a steak and kidney pie. I do like a meat pie. But in terms of execution, I think this is the one that actually comes the closest. I think I prefer the flavour of a steak and kidney pie, but the Fray Bentos steak and kidney pies I've had in the past have had almost no meat in them. And I think because the filling is wetter, the pastry was inevitably more soggy. This, although the filling doesn't look the best, tastes pretty good. Not bad, actually. And yeah, I think possibly best of the bunch. Okay, do you want a little bit of pastry? You've got a pour? Yes. Good. So there we go. That was Fray Bentos mac and cheese pie. Weird stuff in a can on atomic shrimp. Unusually good for this range. I hope that's been interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.